The purpose of this video is to review some content and skills that you're going to be needing for our unit on expository. So be prepared to take some notes. Let's first begin with summary versus paraphrasing. When you write a summary, it's shorter than the original version. Focus falls on the main ideas and disregards details and unnecessary information. When you are paraphrasing, it follows the length of the original version. It's written in your own words and doesn't change the overall meaning or the main idea of the text. Now let's look at some organizational patterns. When we first start with cause and effect, an example of that would be like in Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet couldn't get married, so the effect of that was that they married in secret. Another example of an organizational pattern would be point by point. An example of this is the approach that teachers take to the units. In ELA, we have different units like our nonfiction unit, our fiction unit, poetry, drama, and now we're on to expository. Same thing in your world geography class where you go from different units based on the different regions. So the next organizational pattern that we're looking at is order of events. Order of events is also known as chronological order. First this happens, then this, then that, etc. Other examples of organizational patterns would include problem solution. Going back to the example of Romeo and Juliet, the problem is that you have two enemy families. So the solution that the friar thought would be fit to settle this problem would be to marry Romeo and Juliet. Thus, it would be this. Another example of an organizational pattern would be compare and contrast. An example of comparing and contrasting would be like the poems. When we compared and contrasted two poems, not necessarily poems, but the excerpt from Romeo and Juliet in the balcony scene and the poem, we compared and contrasted how the two girls that were being spoken of were similar and how they were different. Another example of an organizational pattern is classification. For classification, I'm going to go back to my example on the units in your different classes. Different activities are classified for certain units. For example, your video on Romeo and Juliet isn't for the expository unit, it's for the drama unit. Moving on to elements of our expository unit, we're going to learn to differentiate between fact and opinion. Most persuasive writers use facts and opinions to support their claims. A fact is a statement that can be proved or verified, whereas an opinion is a statement that cannot be proved because it expresses a person's beliefs, feelings, or thoughts. Now let's take a step back here. Typically, this is where being gullible becomes an obstacle. Being gullible is when you very easily believe what you are told. Now, it's important to distinguish facts from opinions because facts tend to be less disputable than opinions, unless the opinions come from experts and are well substantiated or established by evidence. When you substantiate your evidence, it's obviously supported by facts. It's supported by research. When it's unsubstantiated, then that's something different. Can you distinguish which statement is a fact and which is an opinion? Let's look at the first one. The constant invasion of our privacy is an outrage, fact or opinion. In this case, the statement is an opinion. According to a 1999 Wall Street Journal poll, loss of privacy is the #1 concern of Americans. This statement is a fact. It can be proved by consulting the 1999 Wall Street Journal poll. So, going back to substantiated, when you can prove it, it's considered substantiated. When it's an opinion that can't be proven, it's considered unsubstantiated. So, as we read the selections in our literature book, we're going to identify the significant facts and opinions in a chart like the one below. The last thing I want to go over is recognizing bias. Bias is an unfair preference for or against a particular topic or issue. To detect bias, be on the lookout for the following. Number 1, an argument in which the evidence is unbalanced, giving one side stronger or more adequate support than the other. 2, the presence of loaded language, words with intensely positive or negative connotations. For example, savage crime, greedy politicians. These words are ones that you want to pay attention to when you're looking at the news. The terminology that is used for a news broadcast is purposely done so that when you deliver the message, it comes across as unbiased. Because if you're watching the news, you don't want to feel that they are taking one side more than the other. In a news broadcast, you have to be unbiased so that you accurately deliver the news. You tell people what happened and let them think whatever they want about the situation. Number 3, opinions stated as if they were facts. Okay, that usually happens a lot in high school. Many of you tend to have opinions, thus other people think they are facts, and as a result, rumors are created. Number 4, the use of overgeneralizations such as stereotyping and other faulty reasoning. When someone is biased, or when you are reading something that is biased, it's very easy to tell when they are overgeneralizing, when they are jumping too quick to conclusions. And that is the end of this section.